Record.
It's not going to work on my end.
I'm just gonna, it didn't work.
It's not letting me do it.
Oh, shoot.
Let me try one more. Hold on.
Hi, Diane.
Go ahead. Do your intro. I'm going to try one more thing.
Okay. All right, so I'll just introduce myself. My name is Christine Evans. I am the Utah Parent Center consultant that is contracted with Tooele County School District. I wanted to just, before Julia got started, I just wanted to kind of introduce myself. And if you haven't met me before or have never worked with a parent consultant at the Utah Parent Center, we are essentially a family-to-family model. So we are all parents of kids with special health care needs, and we help the families that have kids with special health care needs or disabilities kind of navigate the system, whether it's your community resources or the special education system, kind of knowing what an IEP and 504 is, how to communicate with the schools, how to, you know, what your rights and responsibilities are there. And, you know, just everything that encompasses your cute little kids. So, oh, there we go. And the meeting is being live streamed on Facebook as well.
Family Network page.
We got it. So I just wanted to say hi. Please let us know. I'm going to put my contact information in the chat, and then I will put our main center's phone number in the chat as well. So if you do need, anytime you need a consultation or you need to refer someone, I'm happy to help get you to the right place as well. We are statewide, so we serve every school district and county in Utah. We have, goodness, 6 now consultants that are in the districts, that are in other districts. So we're out there and we're trying our best to get the word out. And since we're nonprofit, all of our services are free, and it can be a one-on-one consultation. So there's not, you know, there's that the personal touch to it. So, all right, Miss Julia, I'll let you get started and welcome everyone.
Awesome. So we are super excited to be here tonight. This was one of the top things that folks in Tooele said that they needed. We have done this twice so far in other parts of our state this year. So this is a really great thing that we're doing, sharing resources. We're going to talk specifically about things that are happening in Tooele, but also things that are happening for anyone who lives across the state as well. We're going to show some resources that can be accessed from anywhere in the state. Most of them are going to be online resources, and go from there. So we are doing this with the Tooele Family to Family Network. And let's talk a little bit about that to start. So this Family to Family Network is for folks who live in Tooele. We have 12 networks across our state. We have about 8 that have active leadership that are going on right now. We have about 4 that we're looking for new leadership. We have some interest in one of those areas, so that's awesome. Our networks start from up in Cache County, go down throughout our state into St. George, so through Washington, and from Tooele, that's you guys, yay, over into the Basin, that's both in Duchesne and in Uinta. So all across our state, we can talk a little bit more about that. But again, we are also families helping families across our state, especially those who are working with DSPD in any way. Those in services on waiting list are eligible. It's about 27,000 people when we're looking at it. It's about 6,000 in services, 4-ish thousand people on the waiting list, and then others who could be eligible for those services. So we are a program of the Utah Parent Center as well, and we get to tap into those resources. So that's what we get to do. All of our leaders are family members of people with disabilities within all sorts of huge variety of folks. And that's what we get to do. I have been involved with the networks in a variety of ways for about 25 years, the past 3 as an employee with the Utah Parent Center. So I do have a couple of things I do with folks in the state. If you see me another place, you'll be like, what's she doing now? We all have different things that we're doing here, there, and everywhere. So what we'd like to do is, first of all, since we're a nice small group to start with, I would love to know who you all are. If you want to turn on your cameras, we've got both Diane and Tina on camera. Kelly, if you're able to, that would be awesome. If not, we know sometimes we're juggling cooking or cleaning or doing something else as well. But I would love to hear who you are, what brings you here tonight. If you're looking for a specific resource, then let's start with that so that I make sure that I'm hitting what you need specifically. And then we can go down this rabbit trail. I can tell you what resources that I'm bringing and then make sure again that we're hitting those things that you've got. So let's start with you, Diane, if you don't mind. Just tell us who you are and kind of what you're looking for.
Okay, I am Diane Cox. I have a son, he will be 26 in a couple weeks, with Down syndrome and autism. He's nonverbal. I've kind of been around. I've known Julia for years, but now I have a more recent role is I am the site facilitator for DDI Vantage Early Intervention in Tooele. So I'm really here to get more resources for the families that I help. Because a lot of times I know that we are kind of their first stop on this whole new world. So we want to be able to give them appropriate resources and a helping hand. And I know that people with DDI did that for me when Robbie was born, and I am grateful for that. So that's why I'm here. I want to do that for others.
Yay, and great to see your face again. We've talked a couple of times, but it's awesome. Thank you. Kelly, if you're able to, could you tell us a little bit about you? And oh, yay, a face. Yay, we love it. And love your background. Thank you.
Oh, that's my son being on using my Zoom, I'm sure, because I don't know how to do that.
Nice.
My name is Kelly. My son and I recently moved to Utah from California. Well, it's not as recently anymore, since March. And he is ADHD and FASD, but very high functioning. So
Hi.
he said hi. And we're just trying to find resources to help him. Sometimes when they're higher functioning, I find it's more challenging to find services because, he different reasons, obviously. And then, like right now we're challenged with daycare because he's at that age where he'll be 13 in 3 weeks. I don't know, something like that. And
23rd.
We're limited on our options for daycare because of his age. And the daycare that he's in right now is not really working out, but we're tolerating it because I don't have much of a choice. So yeah, just trying to see what's offered here in Utah and what could help us to make sure that he's successful in school and life.
Awesome. And does he attend school in Tooele or?
We actually live in South Jordan. I missed the one for our area. So you had sent me the information for this one. So he's actually at Ascent Academies in West Jordan.
Okay, thank you. Great. And Tina, hi.
Hello, my name is Tina Stewart. I am the Youth Transition Specialist with Utah Independent Living Services. Mainly my role is to go into the high schools and teach independent living classes to the students that are enrolled in the high schools in Tooele County. We have gotten into the one junior high that will be starting next semester. just 1 day a week. But it's a start to start these independent living classes earlier.
Awesome. Okay. So we've got a few things to be starting with. Christine, is there anything you're looking for resources?
Not specifically, but I think we could maybe peruse the care options for older kids. I think that would be a nice thing to pause on, and because Kelly's in along the Wasatch Front, it might be a little bit easier than if she were to live in Tooele, because I mean it's a little bit harder being rural, but she does have that one advantage being in West Jordan. So I think that would be nice to kind of peruse that area a little bit.
Okay, so let me show a couple of resources to begin with, and then we will go down that road as well. Let me show you some resources in Tooele and along the Wasatch Front, and then statewide resources as well, because we do have a ton of resources on both the Utah Parent Center website, independent living site, and then we've got some medical resources, just because there's all that stuff winding in around, along with looking for some caregiving kind of stuff. So I'm going to share my screen, and that's always exciting when you share your screen to find the right one. Okay, can you see that screen up there that says Utah Parent Center? So I do want to start with this one and show you this resources tab as a beginning place. Let's see if it's showing up. I'm watching 3 screens. There we go. Okay, so this resources tab at the Utah Parent Center, and Christine, if you can help me watch the chat now that I've got my screen shared, in case there's questions that come up, because on here, we do have a couple of things that we can go down. I want to start over here with caregivers, just to see what we can delve into here, because they update this all the time. So let's start with this one and see what it gives us about the information that you were looking at for Kelly. So we've got some resources on here, and if you'll look at, oh, there is a chat right there. Thank you, Christine. Pop that over there. Okay, so there is information here about caregivers. It gives us some data up top. Then we can look at other resources for today's caregivers. Along the Wasatch Front, there's a couple of things on here. There's some books and things on here. And I was looking to see if by chance we had any of those resources that Christine was mentioning for looking for childcare. And I'm not seeing any of those resources on here, which is a good indicator that we need to update this page. So we're both going to make a note about updating this page. But there are a couple of things that I do want to mention on here, because as we're looking for the things for our kids, especially when we're talking about young ones, like you were looking for, Diane, there's a couple of things that we can make note of as we're going along here. There's this one here called the self-care matrix that I'm going to pop into, and let's see what it does here for us as we're going into my screens. Are you guys seeing this self-care matrix still? Thank you. So this is something, because sometimes we say there's just no time and I have no money, but once in a while we may get 30 seconds to 3 minutes. We've been known to, take that one extra trip into the bathroom to get something until the fingers come under the door, right? Until the fingers come under the door, or it's starting to shake on the frames. But this is something we could think about as we're looking for, okay, what do I need? What can I do in all of these areas? Sometimes we're not looking at all of the topics that we could be thinking about by ourselves with one other person at no cost or low cost, or heavens, what if we did something at high cost? I've never done that. Let me know how it goes for each of you. I don't know if you've ever done that high cost thing, but 30 seconds could be walking down the hallway and make sure we look out the window at work or at home, or when we're leaving the grocery, looking up and seeing the clouds. That could be a 30-second for me. That would be a psychological break. If I'm doing it with a friend, it could be a social break as I'm doing that for 30 seconds. I like to show this one to families as we're looking at resources for families and for ourselves. It's something that we say, I just don't have time. We don't have a lot of time. None of us really do. So that is what I like to show in the beginning, but let's go to this other resources tab and show you another piece of this for early intervention, since that was one that you brought up, Diane. And where is my early intervention? There it is. Since you're working with young families, here's a page about early intervention. By the way, cute, darling young children. I don't know where we got that picture, but this is why we do early intervention, to look at these cute kiddos and to help them. So this gives, again, basic information about early intervention. We have these handbooks that are available. Talks about the early intervention through Baby Watch. Basic information about IFSPs, individualized family service plans, that transition into special education preschool if a child still needs it, with some training videos that are available. Basic information. I love that this one is nice and succinct, short, and to the point. I remember being a parent of a young 3-year-old and not remembering a word that people said. I wanted my young child to be safe. That was my goal, right? I couldn't remember what an IFSP was. I'm like, you're writing something down on a piece of paper. Is he going to be okay? So here's some really good information, though, in English and in Spanish. Also information at the state, it's now Board of Education, State Office of Education. As we're looking at this resource tab, is there one that stands out to one of you that you would like me to go into next? You can just unmute and let me know.
I think showing the events tab would be great.
Okay. So the events tab there at the top will let you know what is happening throughout all of the Utah Parent Center. So this is us tonight on the 6th. Ooh. If I can get to it without actually doing something else. So that's ours tonight. If I click on it, it's going to take me to the registration information. There's my name, there's my information. The same thing that you guys probably all did to get to here. The other things that were happening tonight, it looks like there was one about healthy bodies. On Saturday, there's a surrogate parent training. We have something happening in Washington County on Monday. Something about dyslexia. Each of these will take you to a registration piece of information, and it happens for each month. So if there's something besides what you're doing in Tooele, you can look at the calendar and see what's happening throughout the state. The other thing I do want to let you know is if you do want to get a hold of Christine again, you can come to this About page, go over to Tooele County School District because she's in Tooele. You click on her information and voila, there she is. That about page will also tell you where the other district consultants are. There is a new one in Iron County School District that was just announced, I think, what was that, a week ago? Maybe a week ago. So that's brand new. She's not listed here yet. Her name is Julie Brown. These are the other projects and things that are happening at the Utah Parent Center. Here's our page for the Family to Family Network. Kelly, you had mentioned that you're in the South Jordan area, so your network would be Salt Lake. Leaders there are Kathy and Mandy. So all of our leaders' information. So if you have people that you know in other parts of the state, other families, Diane, if you have other folks that you know in early intervention in other parts of the state, this is how you can find the leaders from other parts of our state. Our main network email is this one up here if you have questions about it. We also have this video that actually Christine helped do about the DSPD application. So if you have families that have questions about that, then you could have them come to this website and it will talk them through that. It's about a 20-minute video. We can help people through that process in about 20 minutes. It's online as well as by paper. So those are a couple of resources about the Family to Family Network. Okay, before we leave this Parent Center resource, are there any other things up here that you guys would like me to take a look at?
Actually, yeah, will you just go on to the videos and webinars? I want to show them like what we have uploaded and that's been recorded, because there's some good ones on there.
I can, and then I can also go to the YouTube page, which is actually where the massive load is. So these are videos that you can get to from the Parent Center page. Here's another one about early intervention and into preschool. We've got things about bullying, from nowhere to nowhere. That's one about transition, self-determination. Another one this is that one about DSPD again, if you can't remember where in the world that is about DSPD. This video here is done by a presenter. Her name is Meg Johnson. She talks about motivation. That was a really great one. And then we have many more. Let's see if I can get to them. I apologize, this isn't open. The same as we all. Utah Parent Center. This is our main YouTube page. If you click on this main logo right here, you will hear this.
I want to be a paleontologist.
These are a great little intro. But all of these videos that you see have been done by the Utah Parent Center. These videos, the transition series, these are all individuals with disabilities telling their story. We have IEP videos. You can just start looking into different videos that have been done over the past several years and just start looking at all of the resources that are available. There's so many. Like if you're bored and are cleaning out a closet, put on a video. I know, who cleans a closet? Oh, it's horrible. It's horrible. I have closets that are closed doors because who wants to clean a closet? That's another resource that we have. Okay.
Right, I am one of those weird people that like to clean closets.
Oh, Christine, come to my house any old time, any old time. Okay, we're going to go from the Utah Parent Center. I next want to show you the independent living centers because they have some really, really great resources, including right there in Tooele. So do you see that, that I've opened up to independent living centers? Okay, this is the one that includes the one there in Tooele. So this is the Salt Lake branch location and Tooele. So should we look up what's happening in Tooele, Tina? Should we look it up and just see what's going on there? She's like, sure.
Sure.
Let's just take a look. Let's see what's happening in the Tooele location. So if you don't have any experience with the Tooele Independent Living Center, here it is. It's a great location. There she is. There's Tina. There's Michelle. There's their information. There's the classes. What I love about independent living centers is things are happening as people who attend the independent living centers and take classes and are learning decide what they're doing, right? So there's a class schedule on the side. And Tina, tell us a little bit about the ages that you guys have things happening for. I think it's mostly 14 and older.
Come on. Am I still on mute?
No, you're good. We can hear you.
Oh, okay. It is mainly 14 to 22 is the age group that I do. However, Michelle, my coworker, does 18 to 100 years old. She does the adults. And so, like I mentioned earlier, we have gotten into one junior high out here. So that would be about 12. This past summer, we did do some classes for elementary age they started as early as kindergarten up to 12 years old, just a 6-week course once a week. And so we will be setting up some summer stuff. I haven't decided whether it's going to be the younger age or mainly the older group at this point.
Awesome. Awesome. So I do want to mention, because Kelly, you are in Salt Lake. Let's go back to the Salt Lake one. Here's their Salt Lake calendar, the things that are happening, because your son is going to be 13 and many of the schools are having, like what's happening in Tooele, the Salt Lake Independent Living Center, Utah Independent Living Center does have people working in the schools, but they also have things that are happening during the summer and year round. And so there's a calendar that you can access. Again, I found that by going here and going on their calendar. All of the independent living centers throughout the state, there are 6 of them, have this available to folks who live in their community, where you can take a look at what's happening in the calendar or contact them and say, can you let me know what's going on? It usually is at about 14 that things are happening, but there are things that are, some independent living centers are taking and working with individuals that are younger now. So this is a great thing to know about in our communities. Independent living centers are one of the resources that are important to know about. They work with people with disabilities, and they're the ones who are having decisions and creating programs and knowing what's happening. So this, as I say that, can you read this mission here? It says, the mission is to assist persons with disabilities to achieve greater independence and by providing services and activities which enhance independent living skills. These are not places where individuals go to live. It's where you learn how to become more independent. So that's one of those things we like to talk about, as it is good for a person to know about. So I love independent living centers. I think they're great. Any questions about independent living centers? If not, I'm so impressed because I had so many for like a dozen years. So I love this group because you guys are impressive. There's so many things they do. Take a look at them, contact them with your questions. Okay. The other resource that I wanted to talk about is what's called the Medical Home Portal. So I'm showing you from the first step. This is a resource that has been created with these 5 states to look at medical resources, including diagnoses, things that are happening from newborns, for families and for physicians. So we're going to look at this from the nationwide status first, and then go to Utah. So you can look at it from this national standpoint. Oh, they've got 6 states on here. That's awesome. I always forget about Rhode Island. Sorry, Rhode Island. There you go. But we're going to look at it from the nationwide standpoint first. If there's something that you have received a new diagnosis for, and you're saying, I've never heard those words put together, I don't know what it is that is happening around here, or you've talked with another family and they don't know what those words mean, and you look it up and you go to the Google search, right? And Google has 5,000 entries, which none of them make sense to you. Try the Medical Home Portal. These are descriptions and information that has been put together with physicians, with family members, with practitioners, and it's all research based. So let's just take a look at these diagnoses and conditions. Here are the ones that have been put into place. And can you guys read these? Because I am not sure if I can make it any bigger. I'm hoping we can see it enough that you can see there are some things that we know about or have heard, like celiac or cerebral palsy, but we also have words that I don't even know how to say. And if you can, I'm going to bring you a rose because I can't say some of these words. Christina's laughing. So
Leukodystrophies.
I give you a rose from
I need
my
a
heart to
rose.
yours. I give you a rose. So there's some things in here that if you can say those words, that means you've been in the medical field and have done these things, right? So sometimes we meet individuals and they're saying, I don't know how to put even these letters together, which would be me, right? I know my son always needed to learn about, and we needed to learn about, but there's all of these others. VLCADD. Okay, those are things.
I see my daughters. I have an older daughter's diagnosis that's on here. Go to the P's.
Go to the P's.
And this is a tongue twister. So if you can say this
There we go.
fast, I'll bring the rose to you. It's postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, POTS.
Which is POTS. Right.
Which is POTS. So
this is a resource as you're working with families, or you may be the family who has maybe looking at this list for the first time going, somebody has information on that. Whoa, that is just one of those things. This is why I bring up this page, because, and I also see things that our son had to deal with that I don't see on this list, because that's how 1 in a million kind of kid that we have in our family. So keep this resource in mind, because it all goes into, all right, let's bring one of these up, the word that I couldn't say. Thank you, Christine, for the big grin on your face while we said that. It has an ICD-10 coding with the overview, with genetics, with practice guidelines, and then the roles of what a medical home could do. There's some really great information on here that gives families, the practitioner, the doctor, etc., some good information of what they can do. When we last got information from the group that put this together, they said, please notice where this bar is on the side so that you'll see how much information there is on this page, right? I thought that was a great thing. There's a lot on here, and you can see it on this side as well. All this information is on here. It's a really great resource. Has some more succinct information than just going to good old Google, which we do love our Google, but this one might be as helpful or even more so for families as they're looking at some stuff. Okay, so there's that one. Some newborn information as we may be looking at things for ourselves, for other families that we're knowing. Again, the information on the side. These words, I love that some of you are like just rolling it off your tongue. Thank you for grinning. I love that Christine is grinning throughout most of this. It's great. But for new families or friends of ours, or families that we may be in near their realm, and they haven't heard these words, we could say, here's a place where you can go. Again, knowing that this has been put together from practitioners and physicians and family members that are all part of putting this together. With this extensive piece of information that all have links. I know, who knew this resource was here? It's incredible. Thank you. Thank you. This is the one for parents and families that want to spend a little bit more time. This is where the value of getting this from families to families who have medical knowledge, peer-to-peer, family to family. Let's just talk straight with kindness, with a lot of things going on, right? All the information on this side will take them to the drop-down menus. And I love this. Don't miss this. That was a nice little cue for us to pay attention to. I'm going to take us to the care notebook finally on this page. There's so much we can discover on the medical home portal, but this is the one that we utilized a lot in our family. So I'm going to take you to it because I love everything on this page and could dip into it a lot. The care notebook is a way to help families keep track of all of that stuff. Whatever that stuff is, it could be that you got to keep track of the oxygen levels, or the last time you took them to lab work, or whatever it is, how many times they're eating, or when they're not eating, or what it is they ate. Oh, the food journals. Oh my word, the food journals. Here is a way to help gather all that information, and it's already been created. So let's just take one about the growth tracking page and take a look at it. So I'm going to open up the PDF. Let's sure hope it opens. Okay, do you see the growth tracking page? Did it open up? Nice and simple, but it's one that I didn't have to create on an Excel spreadsheet and create the boxes and figure out the width and or this is width and this is height. I didn't have to do all of that as a parent. It's already done. That's delightful and so kind, right? So that's what the care notebook pages have done for families. It's just delightful. People can check off the whole thing. They can put it into something that's electronic and etc. These other tabs we can take a look at as well. I'm going to show you one last thing on here. If you go into Utah, it will fine tune the search. So if you're looking for a physician, if you're looking for things that are happening exactly here in Utah, it will only show you Utah resources. Care Notebook is the same. All the other resources are the same, but that's what it does. Any other thoughts on that one, Christine? Did I say things well enough on that? Christine knows things like she could say this in her sleep and her husband would be like, what is the deal with the home portal?
Yeah, when my Cameron was younger, the care notebook really was a saving grace for us because I could just take it to the hospital and hand it over. She was quite medically fragile when she was younger. Now she's just a 21-year-old punk, but but it was really helpful for the doctors because they, instead of me regurgitating her whole history, I'm just going to take this to the nurse's station and look through it, and yep, just bring it back when you're done, kind of a deal. And so it was actually a saving grace for me. I really loved it.
It's a great resources. We used probably 3 of these pages so many times that our physician was the same way. Just show me your pages. Just show me your pages. So, okay, that's the medical home portal. Are there places that you guys, again, before we go down into the realm of looking for caregivers for a 13-year-old, I did want to show one more thing on, I stopped sharing for just 1 second so I can go looking for that. While I'm looking for this one other resource, because you didn't mention ADHD, that's a big thing we could be talking about, and caregivers. Was there anything else that you guys had questions about that you wanted to be saying, here's the resource that I found that you want to share to the group as we're looking for those other things? Oh, I know you guys have resources. No, I see that grin on Diane. She's not going to do it. Okay. I appreciate that you brought up, Kelly, about the ADHD, and I'm looking for our ADHD resources.
Oh, you know what? I do have an ADHD resource.
So I have one that you have to go searching for it.
So I
So
want to see that then.
bring up yours, and it's in a roundabout way ADHD. So, okay. Okay, get yours ready to share, Christine, because I love letting other people share their stuff as well. So I'm going to share my screen one more time. Okay. You know, when you have 17 tabs open, you're hoping it's on the right screen. It's the soft skills tab. Okay. So soft skills is one of those things that in connection with working with, especially, Kelly, tell me how old again that you're almost 13, but tell me a little bit more about what ADHD looks like for you guys.
Well, we don't have just ADHD. We also have FASD.
Yeah.
Okay.
He was exposed to drugs and alcohol during pregnancy, so we have that challenge. But as I mentioned, he's very high functioning. So he's, mainstreamed. He's got a 504. We're working on an IEP right now, but he's high functioning to the point where he had straight A's in 6th grade. But now we're, he was home with mom most of 6th grade because of virtual school. So now we're back in school trying to maneuver that with a full-time working mom and single mom on top of that. So I think a lot of the things overlap with ADHD, but then there's, additional challenges, and the executive functioning being and memory issues being some of the biggest ones.
Okay, so memory, and how does he do with like organization, staying
Horrible.
motivated, working under pressure?
Horrible.
Okay, so that's why I brought up this one, right? These are those soft skills that we are like, oh yeah, kids got those. And it's hard to write goals for these things. And yet it's one of the areas that are actually 10 areas, right? So when we break down when we say ADHD, when we say, so I love that you're saying FASD as well. Like, I thank you for keep bringing that in, because we sometimes think, okay, but he's doing so well, straight A's with a lot of supports perhaps at times. I love how we see the heads coming and going into the screen. Right, there's Robin, and we just saw your kiddo as well. The reason I bring up soft skills is because these are the indicators for all of our success. I need to remember to keep these in mind in my daily life. I work on these with my nieces and nephews, and we did with our son, right? How did we teach a strong work ethic for somebody who also, people said on paper, had an IQ of 25? Well, I think that was ridiculous, because he also signed over 500 words and could place them in space, and right, was a self-determined individual. So how do we do this with somebody who on paper gets straight A's, but you just said being organized was difficult, horrible, right? So this is one that I like to show, because it tells us what is a strong work ethic, what is dependability, what is a positive attitude. Man, today coming home from work, I came home and had 2 chocolate chip cookies for dinner. I'm not sure I had a positive attitude today. Christine's like, I'm with you, whew, right? That's not, look at Chips Ahoy. That's not my usual. Right? I had last night for dinner, I had a spinach salad. So we don't always have all of these things in place all the time. But what soft skills give us is the ability to work through and alongside and with the things that are difficult at times. So when we're working with our kids, or with even from teeny tiny kiddos, like 3-year-olds, being a team player means that you can share, which is hilarious for a 3-year-old, right? If I see it, it's mine. If I had it, it's mine. If I had it 2 years ago, it's mine. If you have it now, wasn't it mine? Like, that's really tricky for a 3-year-old. But what does it mean when you're 12 or 13 or 16? What does that mean? So as we're going along this one, working through each of these things in relationship to every piece of an individual is what we can continually keep in our periphery or work on as a goal, because this is actually executive function or pieces of ADHD or intellectual disability along all of our ways. The other part that I love on this one, like number 9, is flexibility. I don't like it. I don't like being flexible. If somebody comes in and says, we need your help right now, and I'm in the middle of typing a report, I have to work on number 9. Right? So do people with disabilities, intellectual, developmental, learning disabilities, all of us along the way. The other part of this one is it gives us success stories, and then it gives us 3 ways to work on these skills for what we have called in this world high functioning, mild to moderate, and significant. That is just one way of looking at an individual, but somebody who has high functioning abilities may really struggle with those things that we talked about in the beginning. But here are some resources that could be considered for working on these skills. So somebody like my son, who they said had an IQ of about 25 and yet could do things that were off in some other realm. There's a way to teach dependability, reliability, flexibility for people with disabilities who are complex and may need communication supports. So that was another one that I like for people to keep in mind. This is also, I heard on public radio that folks who are in the IT field, like at Adobe or other high-tech fields, can do the jobs before them, but these indicators, these soft skills are very difficult for individuals in high-tech fields. So they were saying we need people who also have soft skills. And I was like, aha, soft skills for everyone. Let's just all get squishy toys, which I happen to have right here. It's a sloth and he squishes. We all need soft skills. I know, Christine, it's just one of those things. Okay, so there's that one. And then Christine, you have a resource for ADHD as well. Do you have it available that you could share?
Yeah,
Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing.
Kelly, you are speaking my language, because my 17-year-old has battled. You're not 17. My 17-year-old son has battled ADHD. Probably starting about 5th grade is when it really started impacting his ability to learn and executive functioning skills. So like I feel like I'm knee deep in that all the time. So let me see if I can share my screen and first, I'm going to share just a couple websites that I frequent often. One of them is Chad, and it's, what does it even start for? Attention. What does that stand for, Julia? All of a sudden, I'm not even remembering, but all I know is that it's a good ADHD resource. What did I look up the other day? I think I was looking up the ADHD Toolkit. Oh, that's exactly what I was looking up the other day. This education, because I was trying to help another family that, and this is actually, let me back up a little bit. This is when you do a consultation with the Utah Parent Center, this is something that we work with you one-on-one. So, okay, Kelly has a son with ADHD and FASD, and here's some things that we know about and can pass along to you. So when you're working with the school and maybe with a section 504, if he has a 504 and you said you were trying to do the IEP, it gives you tips that you can do and kind of what is the IEP. And I'm trying to think,
Sea stars.
is this the one that it gives you even tips on what you can do? No, this isn't the one, but I'll bring that one up. So this is a great resource. Another website that I visit all the time. Well, that's Google. Sorry, it keeps on bringing. Let me just. Yes, Google is one that I bring up, but. All right, here's another one that I really like. It's called understood.org. This one I read their articles all the time. Understood and Attitude Mag are two that I look at all the time. So there we go. With my chat and with the view up, it's kind of hard to navigate it a little bit. But check out that one. And another one that I wanted to show you is we have this executive functioning. We have two things. about executive functioning. And this is a great one because it's kind of in this little comic book feel that you can show your kids. And this is just kind of a day in the life of Josh, who has executive functioning and what he struggles with. And you see executive functioning areas, organization and working memory. My son's working memory was at genius level. And so like things would come in his brain, spin around and then shoot back out. And so it's hard for him to remember to do things. Self-monitoring, impulse control. That's kind of a good one.
Are you showing something on executive functioning? Because I still see the understood ADHD site.
Oh, shoot. Well, let me stop. And
That's okay. I was like, wait, she's talking about something I'm not seeing.
Thanks,
Okay.
Kelly. We were all going to send a frantic message.
Thank you. How do I stop sharing? Okay, I can do this. It just says pause share. I don't want to. Oh, there we go. Okay, now let me share the executive functioning. Okay, now do you see it says executive function around the clock? Okay, so this is the little cartoony thing that I was talking about. I forget, I just can't, reduce the Google page and it shares it. But this is a great one that you can go over with your kiddo that understands it. It kind of explains executive functioning a little bit better to them. Let me share. This is a great idea that came up with one of my coworkers had used it for her son, and just everyone that was struggling with executive functioning, she would talk about. So this is the Trifold Homework, and I'll just kind of breeze through it a little bit and take you down to the picture so you can really see what it looks like. Does that make it a little bigger? But you've got a kid with his headphones on, and the trifold, you can do like the science fair folder type things. But it outlines it how to do, how it's best to, if your kid really struggles with focus and attention, how they can do their homework without, as focused as they can. And so those are just a few of the things that I've when I hear or working with, oh, thanks, Julia, for putting those in the chat. When I work with a family that has executive functioning issues and ADHD, just to help you utilize those tools. And, Kelly, I would love to have you work with our main center and see if you can get some assistance in getting your son an IEP, or maybe beefing up his 504 to include some executive functioning skills. The school can absolutely work on that with your son. I personally am a person who thinks executive functioning needs to be taught in the gen ed classroom. I think it's an important thing for every kid to learn, but especially for our ADHD kids that struggle with executive functioning, they can absolutely have that in the IEP. My own son has that in his IEP to learn some executive functioning skills. And that's about it. And also, if you can call in to the center, or we're happy to take your contact information down too, if you want to private message us, and I can have someone call you. But there are out of the box ideas for care too.
Okay.
And we can discuss them. We don't have to discuss them here, but we can get pretty creative, you know, in the things that we suggest to parents. And I used to work on the Utah Family Voices Project, which is our community resource project. And it helps to brainstorm with
Yeah.
other people. So we're happy to help you with that as well. So.
Okay, thank you.
I do also want to mention with executive functioning, every child and individual needs supports with executive functioning. It's why we have Google Calendars on our phones. It's why on my phone, I get a ping 10 minutes before an event. It's why students with intellectual disabilities have schedules that might have 3 to 4 things. They see what's coming next for them so they can predict what's coming in the day, right? It's why all of us paid big old monies for our planners from one company in the world, right? Our son had a schedule on the fridge that told him what was coming during the day, and he would acknowledge it and then say, now let me tell you what I want to do with my day. And we would say, great, let's do it. So we all need executive functioning. It's what we call it. Is it a planner? Is it a calendar? Is it a reminder on our wrist? Is it something that we help each other with during the day? Is it a calendar on the wall that's big and we call it the family planner? You know, do we share our calendars now? Those are all executive functioning skills.
So he does have a planner in his 504 and he has been fighting it. He doesn't want to have to do it because there's no one else doing it. The principal allowed me to schedule a parent teachers conference. So we actually had a meeting yesterday with all of his teachers because he's not doing well and they're not following his 504. So we wanted to make sure that was all, but you know, the teachers have been told they need to remind him to do it. Like it's not their responsibility to do it because they're saying, well, we don't have time. Well, it's not your responsibility to do it. It's his responsibility to do it, but he needs to be reminded to do it.
Correct.
So
yeah. And it's this interesting conversation because so I also work with assistive technology in our schools and the teachers say kids don't need to have those reminders. And part of our conversation is, well, then you can hand me your planner because you don't need that. You do the same thing every day. You have the assembly every third Thursday. You have those things and they're like, no, you can't take that. And I'm like, why? You know what you're doing. No, all of us need support. It's why we have teacher conferences. It's why a surgeon knows surgery, but they don't do their planning. It's why a lawyer is a lawyer, but they don't do their own scheduling with the judge. It's why the clerks are there to help people. And I think it's this conversation of actually all of us have support with these executive functioning. When a student sees nobody else has this, sure, every kid has it in their back pocket. It's just folded up to oblivion, right? I had my schedule when I was in junior high until you couldn't read it anymore. That was an executive function support. If somebody needed to say, Julia, where are you going? I was like, let me get my schedule. So it's having a conversation of actually all of us need supports in this. You need a support. Your teacher friend comes down the hall to remind you, we have a meeting after school. Oh, that's right. And you've got it written down in 5 places. The lawyers need reminders of when they got to be in court, right? We all do this. It's a big conversation. So I agree with Christine. It'd be great to have a conversation with somebody at the Utah Parent Center. You can call the main number at 801-272-1051. You can also send a message through Messenger. They're on Facebook. They're on social media. It is a tricky conversation because nobody likes to feel like they're doing it on their own until you realize, oh, that was really helpful. So
and
that's
I
the
have
conversation.
to say, there are plenty of ways that your son can carry either a planner or I don't know if is he carrying it to plan and to remind him or to like a tracker?
A little bit of both. The discussion is that he writes down what they're doing in class, and then he can mark off what he completes, so that then we know what he hasn't completed and needs to do at home. And so kind of a double check. They have Canvas and they have Aspire where they're keeping the grades, but they're not all, they're at least a week behind, a minimum of a week, but that's not always the case either.
Yeah.
So, but he also, he'll tell me he did something, but the teacher's telling me something different. So I've asked that, one day a week, I've said Monday because Friday is when they put all their grades in and can check the work that's been turned in throughout the week, but that they go and look at his planner and, acknowledge that, yes, the things he said he turned in were turned in, or, what was still missing or whatever. Cause they have multiple places they have to keep things up too. So I give the, teachers, I understand you got Canvas, you got Inspire, you got wherever else. And so that makes a challenge for the teachers too. So, I'm trying not to add work for them, but it takes a little more for him. And, they keep coming back to, well, he needs to advocate for himself. Well, if he's having issues with remembering, how is he going to advocate for himself?
Yeah. Yeah. And that was a real struggle for my son as well. And we worked with the IEP team to do something that would work for him. So, and he hated that paper tracker. I'm going to tell you, that's the bane of my existence. So,
Yeah.
What we did is his case file holder, she did a Google form, and each teacher was supposed to fill that out on Friday, on like how his behavior was during the week, if he missed any classes, what needed to be focused on and done as far as homework. Like if we could pick one thing to focus on, what would it be over the weekend? Because and we'd picked Friday because then I could have the weekend with my husband being home to put his thumb on my son to get the homework done.
Right. Well, and that's the challenge, is I'd like it to be done on Friday because we have more time on the weekend, but
yeah,
they don't get their grades in until late on Friday. So they're not able to, check his planner and say what it is that he still needs to. They keep telling me, go back and look at Canvas, go back and look Aspire. And I'm like, that's not always there, and then, I have the added challenge of, I don't have that husband to put the thumb down on him. It's just me and him. So that
yeah. And I'm not super familiar with Ascent. I have heard of it, but what another thing that I would talk to him about is, what are the other kids doing? Because planners in our district are a common thing. Like everyone gets the high school planner, the junior high planner, or whatever. So it's not unusual to see that. But still, my son just wasn't in his brain, but technology is. So what, let's see if we can figure out something that's technology.
Yeah, the counselor said that if she had the funding, every student in the school would have it, but she doesn't. So she does it for 504 students only.
Oh, yeah.
And so, and she has and they're just things that she does on her computer and prints out and has it in a book for him.
So did all the students at Ascent get a Chromebook?
They're not issuing Chromebooks this year. There's not enough.
Oh, okay.
I believe they had them last year. I don't know. We came fourth quarter, so I'm not really sure how they did it last year, but I asked for a Chromebook because his was in HP for repair and it was a challenge getting it back. And so they said they didn't have enough to even check out individual Chromebooks, let alone all the students. So they just have them in the classroom and they use them while they're in the classroom and they put them back.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's something that whoever you work with at the center, and I'm trying to think because we have a consultant that works with charters. I don't think Ascent is one of hers, but
what's her name?
Rochelle.
Yes, I've talked to her before.
Oh, then maybe Ascent is, because I'm like, Ascent sounds super familiar.
Ascent is on her because I have talked to her back in when we first transferred here in fourth quarter. I
Okay,
had talked to her,
then I would definitely
but
get
she said that
Rochelle
she
on
only
it.
does IEPs. So if he doesn't get approved for an IEP, she can advise, but she can't support at the school level.
That could be, because each contract is different with the schools. Like I work with IEPs and 504s in Tooele. But regardless, we have someone that can help you with the 504 and beefing that 504 up
Right.
to include some of these things, because we want to give the support to your son so he can access his education just like everybody else.
Right.
So let me reach out, since Rochelle has your contact information already, probably, right?
Yeah, but I've started an email. I'll send it to you in a few minutes.
Okay, perfect. And I'll reach out to Rochelle and talk to her. Yeah, that could be true with her contract. Only IEP students work with that, but regardless, we have someone that can definitely work with you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions about things you guys would like to see or to share from any of the other things? Resources. Diane, any other things you'd like to see for your families of young kids?
No, what you showed us was great. I had no idea that like the transition videos were on the website and things. So I think I just need to take some time and peruse these websites and see what all is there, because it looks wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, take a look at the resource tab at the Utah Parent Center again. There's so many things there. And if you have young families who are looking at things in the DSPD realm, getting them connected with the family to family network, having families talk with other families is this kind of resource sharing back and forth and back and forth. So that could be great. And when they're getting older, let's make sure they're connected with resources in the community. So, okay. Thank you all so very much. This is being posted on, actually, we went live onto the main Family to Family Network page. So thanks for being there with us as well. If people showed up there, or if you want to have people watch it again later, the link will be there. I'm going to put that into our page now so people can have that. It's just our main page. It's actually not going to let me because we're still recording there. Maybe Christine, you can pop that resource into the chat, but it's Family to Family Network. If you do a search on Facebook, you'll find us. It's an open page, so anyone can be on there. We have about 1,000 people who have access to that page. So it'd be great if you want other folks to know about any of the things we've talked about. If not, thanks everyone. It was really great. We're going to stop the live now and the